Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How is everyone doing again today? Well, I am back. Mr. Griffin or Mr. Eric is back with another art lesson. And like I did yesterday, I started a Wayne Thiebaud. It's spelled like it would be Wayne Thiebaud. Uh, but I did a Wayne Thiebaud project for my second graders. We did an ice cream and we started doing a value scale. Now, this is like an introduction of like blending with oil pastels. This down here is crayons because we actually painted at the very end with complementary color schemes. When I moved to third grade, we move on to more trying our best to also create the illusion of three dimensionality. I kind of go away from the complementary color scheme, and we're still creating tints and shades. And we learn about an artist with Wayne Thiebaud. So this is the lesson that we're going to try to do today. This is a longer process. It takes once the kids get going, they can get done in like uh, two, maybe finish up on the third class period. But it does take me a little bit to explain and to show them, but they get done. So I'm going to try my best to make this video a little bit shorter. So I might stop it before I'm completely done, and then I'll do a thumbnail of the finished project. So this is what we do. Now I have my students do it on black paper, but I always give them examples and demonstrations on white paper just to show them how to blend, and then also what kind of objects and different things that they can do. So here's another one. If you chose to do a cupcake or a muffin without any topper, which is perfectly fine. Here's one with a cherry on top, and I try to even like do a highlight and a shadow on that. And this is about how the cupcakes go. Nothing spectacular, nothing like really hard, but this is a grade that I do with third grade. So this is a project I do with third grade. So I might make my cupcake or muffin or something a little bit bigger than this one. I actually let the students do it on a large piece of paper. If you were here and watched my video yesterday, I actually don't have any examples of this cupcake, but my ice cream for second graders are done on 12 by 18, and that's actually the size of paper I do for the cupcakes as well. So these are just smaller examples. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with on a black piece of paper. So if you've got a black piece of paper, you don't have to. As you can see, I did the white ones and they're just perfectly fine. So you will need oil pastels. If you don't have oil pastels, it might not work as well. You could still create some kind of a fun cupcake in three dimensions with crayons or even watercolor. Most of those little art kits that you get for your kids have a collection of oil pastels. They might not be the best. Um, I had I had a collection. Someone had given me like one of these little art kits that have these art studio oil pastels. I was going to use these, but this collection doesn't have a white, so I didn't want to mix my oil pastels that are water soluble with those. It doesn't always work the same. So if you have a white oil pastel, that might be best. Okay, now my first drawing is going to be done on black paper. You might not be able to see the pencil, so I probably could have done it beforehand and just told you how to do it. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I tell the students to start kind of in the middle of the piece of paper, and you're going to start on the left-hand side, and you're just going to do a little curve. Now, this is what I call like the muffin top or like the cupcake topper. So this is in the middle, and then I go over to the right-hand side, and I do the same thing. Now, we want to create a three-dimensional curve. So we do not want to just create a straight line that going across. And I don't want to just do bumps like I did for my ice cream in second grade. So I tell my students to start curving it down until you get to about the pinnacle of it, and then we start curving it back up. So here's a little bit more, and then it's going to curve back up. back to meat. So it's just a slight curve. It's not the best. It's actually I didn't. It's not very good at all. All right, so I'm gonna put a little more curve there and erase. Nothing's wrong with messing up. You look at your own curve, and if you like the curve, perfect. So I tell my students to start off with a curve, and then we're going to make our muffin top or our little cupcake top flow over a little bit more. And then you're going to go ahead and do the top. The top really just has to be a curve, and it connects that. Now, at this point, all of you guys who were here yesterday were like, this looks like an ice cream cone. Well, it does kind of look like an ice cream cone. The cupcakes have a similar feel to it, but it's not. And we're going to go ahead and put some kind of drizzle. Now, I have seen some very spectacular students. I'm not saying you guys aren't spectacular. And if you wanted to make like whipped cream and actually do some curves, I tell my students, feel free, explore, practice, do whatever you want. But I'm not going to make it a requirement. So the requirement is to just do like a little curve thing to like have a drizzle. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a little drizzle of something right like that, just on top. Okay. Now, I like for my students to try to put some kind of topper on here. Maybe you have a carrot cake. Oh, this is fun. I try to explore all the different potentials of what kind of cupcake or muffin could it be. Could it be a carrot cake and you put a carrot on it? Could it be a strawberry and you put a strawberry? Could it be just a regular cupcake with icing and you put a cherry on top? Of course. And like the one that you saw just a second ago, I went crazy and I said I've got like a little candied orange. Now, some people say, can I put like a girl in it? I'm like, yeah, go right ahead. So on this one, I'm gonna try my best to do like a gummy bear. So we're in quarantine, so we're gonna kind of have really fun with it. So I'm gonna do a little leg. I come up, I do another little leg. No, you might have to erase some of this stuff. This is the top of the leg. Comes up. Now, your gummy bear or your cherry or your strawberry doesn't have to look like mine. And in fact, more than likely, your guys' is probably going to look better than Mr. Griffin because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just decided to try to do a gummy bear real quick. Now, I don't know, remember what a head looks like. Maybe it's got ears and now looks like a weird mouse. That's okay. All right, so maybe I'm going to put like a little circle, 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 circle. Now, this is just the start. We are going to have to color this all in, and I don't know what it's going to look like after we color it, but I'll try to color it and do something like that. So I've got like a little three-dimensional gummy bear on top of my cupcake. Like I said, you could have done strawberries, carrots, cherries, anything. Now, once you have that, we need to do our wrapper. Now, it needs to be tapered because most cupcakes are in those little pie tins and they're tapered. So I tell my students, start on the left. You can start on the right, I don't care. But if you start on the left and you need to like angle it down a little bit. Now, don't go all the way down, and we're not doing ice cream cones. So if you were here doing yesterday's drawing, we did like a little triangle. So we're not doing yesterday's drawing. We're doing just a slight angle. So we got that angle, and you don't go down all the way this time. You do want to have it even. So I might come down a little bit more on this side. So you have this point. Now, this time, it needs to be another curve. It needs to be a curve. Your contour, you're coming forward. So I need to curve forward. Now, this gives the illusion of an actual, like, more three-dimensional cupcake. Now, I like to then go from here and say we're going to put it on a plate. We're going to be fancy dinner people, and we're going to have like a little cupcake plate. So I take from this point, I scoot to the left. I scoot to the right. I put a little dot. Now you're going to curve behind. So you're going to curve behind. You're going to curve behind. Now, if any of you guys are watching and you're like, hey, that sounds familiar. I used to watch a guy named Mark Kistler, and actually he is still doing lunchtime drawings on Facebook, and he's got a YouTube channel and everything. But Mark Kistler does lots of draw 3D. So shout out to Mark Kistler. He's the one who I probably learned how to draw these little contour lines and plates. Now, the very last step is we have to do surface. And so this is another thing that I learned from him, surface. And I tell my students always, the surface line does not need to be right underneath it. It needs to go behind. It needs to go behind. Now, once you have that, you've got your cupcake and you're like, I'm done. Yes, you are basically done. But now we got to color and then do the value. Now, if you also notice, I have stripes. The stripes get added last. Don't put stripes on there prematurely. Since you're going to be blending with white and black, you don't want to put a third color into the mix. It'll change it up. So we don't want to do that. So what I now tell you guys to do, and this takes a while, I don't normally do the value and the shading on the same day. Once they have the cupcake drawn, I say, okay, great. If we have the cupcake drawn, if you want to start coloring, you can. Otherwise, we stop it at this point. But we're going to go ahead and keep on going. So I've got 3 colors. So I'm going to do, what am I going to do? Yeah, sure. I'll do this. So I'm going to actually make my cupcake brown. I'm going to make my wrapper yellow. I'm going to make my icing blue, and I'll make my my little gummy bear green. This red is for the table, and I guess I'm going to have to figure out a color for my plate as well. But let's go ahead and start with our gummy bear. Now, you're just going to color this. I don't know how far I will go. Um, I might, I might, I might leave the gummy bear real quick. I'm going to show you something else real quick. I want to show you if you are using black paper and you want to use a yellow. I want to show you. If I start using yellow, it comes out and it might actually look green. What you can do, which is kind of nice, is you can actually put white down first. Now, we're still going to add a highlight. We're still going to add a highlight later. But if you add white first to the black paper, whenever you're adding light color, and if you noticed, Mr. Griffin has his oil pastels all dirty. But if you noticed with that green, it did not show up very well. And so I might use white for that as well. But I want to go ahead and get to blending again. Now, if you watched yesterday's videos, you might know how to blend already. So it won't be too much news for you. But if you weren't and you are new and you wanted to learn how do I blend, I'm going to go ahead and show you. So I'm going to do white. I then am going to do yellow on top of all of this. And I can actually blend this to make sure that it's yellow, yellow, yellow. I don't want it to be super light yellow, especially on my shadow side. I don't know right now what side my shadow is going to be on, and it doesn't matter. Right now, we're just coloring in our wrapper, our cupcake, our muffin. I don't know what you want to call these. I was like, if you want them to be muffins, they can be muffins. I look at these as fancy cupcake, but they might be muffins. They might be muffins instead. So it doesn't bother me one bit. I think one of my favorite desserts is actually like a lemon poppy seed muffin, not a cupcake. So I like muffins as well. So now, if you notice, this yellow is super, super vibrant now. Now, it is light, and so technically it is a tint of yellow. But we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, I said my muffin or my cupcake is going to be like this chocolate brown color. And if you notice, I don't need any white. I don't need to change the saturation at all. It's bright enough that it will actually cover over all this black. Now, this is normally something I do on the second day of this little lesson. And this is whenever the kids normally get done, is on the second day. Some kids have to have a little bit more and they need a third day. But I teach them how to draw, and then we might start telling them how to color, but only to pick 3 colors. I don't even introduce them to the blending. Some of the kids know it. Some of the kids will get it done, but you always have the slower ones. So I don't recommend doing something way too in depth on like one day. Whenever you're doing an art project and you have 20 some odd kiddos in a class, this might take them 3 weeks, and you're like, what? Well, it might not, but I have found that if it takes me about an hour to color an art project, it takes them every bit of like 3 class periods to get it done, unless it's kindergarten. I don't know if you guys have ever taught kindergartners. I had an amazing little penguin that I had done. That I loved it. I thought it was great. It took me about 25 minutes to draw and to color and to get it all nice and neat. I was so happy with my penguin. I was like, yay! It's such a pretty penguin. My kids are gonna love it. It's gonna take a couple days. The penguin took, guys. The penguin took like 5 minutes for some kids, and kindergartners were saying, "I'm done. What do I do next, Mr. Griffin?" I'm like, I don't know. Go back over and do some more, I guess. Um, but I still think that Penguin is a fun project I do, but it just takes a little while. Now, if you guys saw what I just did, I added white to my gummy bear. The same thing I did to my yellow to make my green stand out more. Now, we're still going to make a tint and shade with this, but I wanted to go ahead and make my green pop more, and maybe it's going to look more translucent since it's a gummy bear, or it's supposed to be a gummy bear. Maybe it's more gelatin based or something. So, all right, so there's my little gummy bear. It's kind of hard to see. I don't like the ear on my. All right. Everyone say serious, serious. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do the plate and the bottom right now. And I'm probably only going to do 2 values and shading because I'm running about 17 minutes. And I don't want to like make the video too long for you. Okay. Once you get everything done, you need to decide which side the light source is coming on. If the light source is coming from this side, then all of this needs to be white. You can't go back and forth. You can't do white, black, white, black. It doesn't work that way, guys. We're trying to create a 3-dimensional look where the light kind of hits it and creates a shadow. Kind of like my hand. See, my light is over here and the shadow is casted. So you know what? Let's just, for the fun of it, since I already have a shadow cast this direction, I'm going to do the light coming from the left. So this side's going to be white and this side's going to be black. But everyone say serious. Serious. I do not want to see you just coloring white and go up and down and blend those colors. Because if you notice, I got some red and stuff on here. So I got some extra colors on my oil pastels. So we're going to do each individual section at once. I'm only going to do 2 for you guys, and then I'll do the rest and I'll finish it up and have it as the thumbnail. So I'm going to first do white on the left side. Oh, I broke it. Oh, well, that's okay. So Mr. Griffin is heavy-handed sometimes. So my kids were just laughing at me they saw me, or they said I broke it. So I'm going to go ahead and put some white to make it lighter. Now, it might not be as light, especially if you're doing it in a yellow and you're like, well, I already put white on there. I know. You already put white on there and it's already light. But as soon as I'm done mixing this, I think you can tell that this is lighter. Look at that little oil pastel. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little bit of white in here. Same thing. I want to stir it. Stir, circular. Now, if you want to, you can also do these little lines as if the white is transitioning to more brown, and so the light doesn't go all the way around. So I'm going to do this. If you want it more white on this side. Now, last thing, if you want to, you can go back and put some more brown in here so it transitions slowly as a value scale. And now, once you do all the white on one side, now I'm not going to do all of it because I don't want to waste too much more of your time. But once you do all the white, you're going to do all the black and you're going to cast a shadow. So look over here again. You're going to do all the black, and you cast a shadow. I'll go ahead and show you how to do this. Now, black is such a strong pigment, you might only want to do a little bit of black on the line, and then like kind of like do a few little curves following your contour line of your cupcake at the very end. And then we could take that yellow and blend it back in there. Also up here in the brown, I'm going to do a little bit of black. I don't want to do too much because then it'll just be the same as the black paper. Okay, and then I've got to go back because that's just too much black. That doesn't look like it's transitioned. It doesn't look like a shadow at all. I'm going to take my brown. I'm going to stir it in the black. Stir, 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 stir. If I don't think the shadow is dark enough, what can you do? Exactly. Add more black just to make it a little darker. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to add a little bit more right here, right on the edge to have the very, very darkest shadows. And the same with the yellow. I'm going to go ahead and blend that shadow black oil pastels. Mix, 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 mix. And then you should have yourself a kind of a fun little shadow thing. I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. I promise you I will finish this, have this as my thumbnail, and invite you guys to do it yourself. Be safe. I love you all. Wash your hands. And until next time, bye.